friends, welcome to today's video in which I will be sharing my top 10 tips / things that I learned about having a baby. These are not in any particular order because I feel like, every person's experience is different. I don't want to try and put them in any kind of order because some may find certain ones more helpful than others. So I've got my notes here just to make sure that I don't forget anything because these days you never know. #mombrain. So I will just jump right into it. The first thing is to have a routine, somewhat of a routine. And this is not just for the baby's sake, but for your sake as well. Now, every family's situation is different, so each family's routine is going to look a little bit different, but figure out what works best for you and just try to stick to that. For us, our daytime looks a little bit different each day, but we just have certain things that we try to get done, such as, several naps throughout the day, obviously feedings, diaper changes every, 3-ish hours, unless it's clear that she pooped, in which case then we change it right away, and playtime or reading, those kinds of things. And then when nighttime comes around, that's when we really try to stick to the same routine. And for us, it's nice because we can kind of, in a sense, go into autopilot and also just be able to rely on that time to get some things done. So we start by getting her ready for bed together. So changing her diaper, putting her sleepy time essential oils on, putting her in her pajamas, that kind of thing. And then while Steve feeds her last bottle and puts her in her crib when she's done, that's when I do things like making sure her room is ready, for the end of the night. So making sure that, any toys or clothes and stuff are put away, putting the fan on for white noise, that sort of thing. And then I will clean all the bottles and do any of the dishes and, sometimes put away laundry, just miscellaneous things that I haven't been able to get to during the day that I now know that I have time for before my last pump of the night, and then bedtime for me and also for Steve. So that way we're also going to bed around the same time that she is. And so that actually brings me to my next tip, which is putting your baby to bed just a little bit later than what I feel like has kind of been the norm in the past, which I feel like is a lot earlier. So 7, maybe 8 o'clock. I feel like a lot of people put their babies to bed, and I actually, we as new parents, just kind of went with the flow. And when she first started going to bed at night, we just kind of waited for her to get sleepy and fall asleep, because she just would we kind of did that throughout the day anyways. Just whenever she would be sleepy, we would just let her fall asleep and sleep for as long as she needed to. And when she was a newborn, and we kind of learned that her sleepy time, her natural, I'm gonna sleep through, a longer period, not just a nap, was a little bit later, 9, 10 o'clock. And so then we just decided to go with that because that was around our bedtime anyways too. And so it just worked out nicely because then, we were sleeping when she was sleeping. So we weren't quite as sleep deprived in the beginning. And then I recently saw something from a nurse who had posted, I think on Instagram or something, that babies' nighttime sleep, like when they start to get sleepy for like to, you know, for more than just a nap, is actually between 9 and 11. So we just happened to stumble across that, but I guess it was a happy accident that we figured out that that was a good time to be putting her to bed anyway. So we've been doing it that way since, and she has been sleeping through the night for almost since she was about a month and a half, maybe 2 months. And now she sleeps usually about 10 hours. So it's been really great. And obviously, you know, you have to do what works best for you and your family's situation. But I just wanted to put that out there because I for one, if I hadn't known, I would have thought, you know, earlier bedtime as well. So then the next thing is something that I'm pretty sure has been said before, but I feel like it is worth saying again because it was not really something that I thought about that much beforehand, and then, you know, actually ended up seeing it out there as advice after the fact. But don't plan too much around the nursery. We worked so hard to make sure that we had her room ready to go before she got here, and then really we didn't use it except for bringing her in here to change her diaper and or change her clothes. And really that was it. I found we were hanging out more so in the living room and the dining room area and like where we have her pack and play set up and all that kind of stuff. So it just felt like we busted our butts to get something done ahead of time that we didn't use as much in the beginning. We use it more now, especially since she's now in her crib. But you know, she slept in her bassinet in our room for the first, you know, 5 months. So yeah, I think if you don't have everything ready, just having the changing table and, you know, most of the clothes that they'll be wearing when they're first born ready, that's really all you need to worry about. Like, don't stress so much about the other things. And also on a related note for the nursery, and that is you can try to organize the clothes in however way that you want to do it in a strategic way, you know, by size, by type of clothing, or whatever the case may be. But in reality, you're sometimes so busy that, you know, when you go to change their outfit and you want to put something away and get something else out, the time that it takes you to put that stuff away in the spot where you want it to go, you're just not always going to have that time. So my point is it doesn't always stay as organized as you originally had it. Case in point, for the clothes that are hanging up in her closet, I had bought those little things that go around the rod, and they say the different sizes on them so that you can organize them by size. And at this point, the majority of them are no longer in the correct spaces because you're a busy parent, and who has time to make sure that you're putting it away in exactly where it was before, especially if baby is crying and needs something. Like, the last thing you're going to do is take the time to make sure that everything's perfectly in order. And when you have, you know, 5 free minutes later on in the day, you could spend it doing that. But then that's also 5 minutes that you could just be like relaxing and breathing and, you know, just having a moment to yourself. So don't put too much effort in, because I spent so much time ahead of time making sure that everything was organized, and I thought, like, you know, that it would be this different situation, which it was not. So the next thing is that you can never have enough burp cloths. I swear we went out and bought more, like several times, just because you go through so many. Those things start to stink fairly quickly. So it's just, and they don't take up that much space. So don't be afraid that you have too many burp cloths. So the next tip has to do with the changing table, and that is put a burp cloth on the changing table, because I can't tell you how many times she ended up spitting up while she was on the changing table. So it's just nice to have one there. Like, we put it where her head goes, so then that way if she does spit up, hopefully most of it just goes right onto the burp cloth, and if not, you know, you can pick it up and, you know, just use it to wipe their mouth off, or, you know, their shoulder or wherever they end up getting it, but then it's like right there. So, and then also to have hand sanitizer right next to the changing table, because when it comes to changing poopy diapers, you will most likely at some point get some on your hands, even if it's not every time. And even if you don't, sometimes it just feels better to sanitize your hands afterwards, and it's so much easier to use hand sanitizer than to try and, you know, move them to a secure place first and then go to the bathroom and wash your hands. Like, it's just so much less stressful and so much more convenient. So highly recommend doing that. So my next tip is to avoid the pajamas that zip from the top down. It's a nice idea in theory, because I think the thought behind it was that then you just unzip from the bottom when you have to change the diaper, and then you don't have to take, like, it, you can kind of keep like the top half on them, and it keeps them warmer and such. But it is such a pain in the butt when you're trying to put it on them and you're putting a zipper on basically upside down, which is not how we're used to doing zippers, or when you're putting it on the hanger if you're hanging it up. So it's a nice idea in theory. It doesn't really hold up in reality, though. It's just not practical. So I don't recommend. You can maybe have one and try for yourself. Maybe it won't annoy you as much, but it definitely annoyed us. So, and then the next thing is also clothing related, and that is, I realized that it's okay to buy clothing in, you know, one, maybe two sizes, a little bit bigger than what they're currently wearing, because I found that even if it's just ever so slightly big on them, or if I have to roll the sleeves or something, then they can wear it a little bit sooner, and then they're wearing it for a little bit longer, and it doesn't feel like they're growing out of it so quickly and that you've spent money on something that they're not wearing for very long. Now, you can also get things from a discount store or a consignment shop or something where you're not paying as much, and, you know, then like you can buy stuff in their current size. But I just found that it's, you know, any way to, you know, keep them in the same clothes for a little bit longer and save a little bit of money, and also be able to enjoy the clothes for a little bit longer, because of course, you know, we love seeing how cute our babies look in the outfits that we get them. It's just nice to be able to do so. And then also, you know, if they shrink in the wash, it's not as big of a deal. So, and let's see. Okay, so this next one, hopefully maybe I can show you what I mean. But this one I was just doing and for diapers, for putting away diapers. And my husband was watching me and liked the idea. And I mean, it's helpful, and that's why I continue to do it, but I didn't really know that it was going to be worth sharing, but he thought so. So I wish I had thought of it before doing this, because this is not going to be like as good of an example as if it were full. But so the diapers, the way a lot, I guess I can't speak to every brand, but the way that a lot of them come is that they're in like 2 rows in like wrapped in plastic. And so what I've been doing is just cutting in half. So the way this came, there was another set like this attached, and I just cut the plastic in half and then just stick the whole thing in the bin that we keep it in. And so that way they're just ready to go, and that's all I have to do. There's no like taking them out and stacking them and hoping that they stay in place. No, this helps to kind of keep them stacked neatly. So that's just a little something, which brings me to my last one. And that is when someone you trust offers to babysit, and you're at that point that you're comfortable with, you know, leaving your baby for an extended period of time, take them up on that offer. We were possibly going to around the time when she was about, I think, like 3.5, almost 4 months. We had a wedding to go to out of town. And so we were thinking about staying overnight, and we, in the end, like I wanted to, and it took a while for me to admit it, but I was not ready. And, but I felt guilty for not being ready, I guess. Like I thought maybe there was something wrong with me, that I couldn't, you know, be okay with leaving my baby just for one night. You know, at the age of almost 4 months. But I realized that I couldn't. And I think it was still fairly early, and I came to terms with that. I tried to give myself some grace after I thought about it. So we didn't do it then, but we did end up deciding about 5 months in that we were ready, and we just wanted a night to ourselves. And so she stayed at Steve's parents' house for the night, and it was while we were here in town. So I think that was another part of it, is that I knew that we were going to be around. So heaven forbid anything happened, we were close enough by. Like it was like 30-40 minute drive. So that helped, like not being out of town. And honestly, like once I, you know, got to that point where I was comfortable with it and we actually did it, like, yes, we did miss her. And it's funny that we ended up like looking at pictures of her from when she was a baby, but we did not just do that. We, you know, we had a little date night, and we caught up on our sleep, and it was a relief. Like it was one of those things where like I knew I was as ready as I was going to be, and I just had to rip the Band-Aid off and do it. And I'm so glad that I did, because I ended up feeling like a whole new person by the next day. So if you have that opportunity and you're as ready as you're going to be, I highly recommend doing it, because I think that it's just nice to feel a little bit like a human again. So yeah, that I think sums up all of the top tips and things that I learned that I just found to be most helpful. Hopefully you will find at least some of these helpful to you as well. If in your experience there were some things that I didn't mention that you found super helpful as a new parent, that you think other people would benefit, please leave those in the comments below. I would love to know about them, and other people would benefit from that as well. And don't forget to like this video and subscribe, and I will see you guys next time. Bye.